Joseph Thomas Briscoe here, originally from Washington, D.C., Southeast D.C. Here in North Carolina, Harrisburg. I'm a life coach. Also, I do operations with Mirror to the Heart coaching and counseling services with my wife, Stephanie Briscoe. And I am here today rocking with Grandosiá TV.
Welcome back to another show with Grandosiá TV. Before we get started, everybody, make sure you subscribe, like, share, and hit that notification bell so every time we come live on YouTube, y'all can get the updated shows that we are airing today. Today, I'm with my guy Joseph Briscoe. What our show today, we are talking about love. What is love? What is love in the black community? What is love that we show towards our kids? What is love, even if we get time to get into it, that we have for our people, our race of people. But the biggest thing is, what is the love that we show to the opposite sex that we have, that we may call our wife, our girlfriend, significant other, however you may want to classify that as love. So as I sit back and ask my first question to you, Joseph, or Joe, what in your opinion is love? What is that?
Man, great question. You starting off in the deep. Just left me out in the ocean there. Good thing I know how to swim. So, great question, D. Great question. Love to me, and how I understand it, is a major. What's amazing is love is an action. We identified by saying the word love, but we normally see love through what we do, what we say, how we interact. And in most cases, love is selfless. It is you giving of yourself emotionally, mentally, affectionately to someone else, in a variety of areas: need, support, encouragement. And definitely to me, the very evident signs of love is when everything's not perfect.
Mm, that's true. When you say not perfect, like what is that?
Commonly, where I think we go wrong a lot with love is, number one, we don't understand what it looks like. In a lot of cases, we've grown up in dysfunctional homes, meaning dysfunctional, they're not healthy. We may not have seen affection, healthy affection. I'm not talking about the affection that's not appropriate or that's perverted, such as molestation or anything like that, that's tied to an illness or a sickness. What I'm talking about is just seeing your mother and your father interact in a loving way, in a graceful way towards each other, affectionate, holding hands, seeing them kiss, seeing them hold and caress each other, give a hug each day. A lot of us haven't really seen those things. We see it a lot through Hollywood. We see it a lot through television. And then now we're seeing it through these television shows titled Love and whatever else. And so a lot of times we're not even close to the essence of what love really is. And a lot of times it's just an issue of we don't know what it should look like a lot of times. So um, that's a lot of what I have been able to see and observe as a husband and a father. A husband of 21 years with my best friend for 25 years, and a father of five, three girls and two boys. So I've seen many different facets of love, and I'm learning it. But there's a lot I have learned. And to me, once again, the most critical time where you really have an opportunity to show love is really in tough times and in challenges.
So, so one of the other questions I have, when it comes to love,
Mhm.
is there a difference from loving somebody and being in love with somebody? And if there is, can you break that down for us?
Definitely. Another great question. There is, a lot of my base and my answers will come from a biblical view. And so with that would come the different variations of love. You have eros, which is the erotic or the sensual type of love. You have the phileo type of love, like the city Philadelphia, brotherly type love, and then you have agape type of love, which is without condition. That's deemed as the highest level of love. And so I think those basic things are things we're not aware of. We experience them, but we don't understand. So, for instance, a love I have for you and other guys I associate with is a brotherly love. It's a covering. It's a supportive type of love. And then there's the other type of love where it's within a relationship. It's the opposite gender. You love someone. A lot of things have changed now, so it's not just with the opposite gender, but it's that real serious compassion you have for someone else and passion you have to meet someone else at the ultimate level. Normally, it comes down to really intimacy, really being close and being when you get into the interpersonal circles of each other. And then agape, that's when you mix those two relationships, brotherly or sisterly love you may have for somebody, and you ultimately have a general sense of love of a human. Ultimately, agape is when you show it without condition. So that's when I'm showing love to someone. Let's say they may be a racist or they have wronged me. They may have endangered my family. Do I have the love to forgive them if they ask for it? Do I have the love to not press charges? See, that's a higher level of love right there. So, but that difference in what you asked, I hope I addressed that. That
Yes.
there is a difference in love. Being in love is pretty much when you have either the boyfriend, girlfriend, but the ultimate level of that is covenant, which is marriage. When you vow to somebody, the rest of my life, I'm going to love you. I'm going to show this action of affection, no matter if it's good times or bad times. And then the other love is kind of like the brotherly love, where you truly just adore other people because they are people. But there's a line there, there's a boundary, and it's not sexual or doesn't get to that intimate level.
So my next question is, when it comes to love, what are some of the things that you see in your profession, talking with people, that we go wrong in love? Like, what's some of the, because you said earlier, we was never shown how to love. So where are some things that, man, if he would fix this, or man, if he would do this better, this relationship can really prosper and mature and be greater than what it is?
Oh man, it's a lot of times, even personally, what I see and have experienced being a life coach and talking to people, and mainly my population is mainly men, guys. I'm able to help women, but to be honest, I truly try to avoid and more encourage the females to go to my wife for therapy. But that doesn't limit that I can, but I really just have a passion for really helping guys because I went through a lot of time just not understanding certain things. And so to me, to ask where a lot of people may go wrong, I think most of the time we go wrong not doing the work ourselves on ourselves, meaning loving ourselves. A lot of times we don't really know who we are. So how can you truly love yourself if you don't know who you are, if you don't understand you have a purpose, that you've been created for a reason? And so a lot of times we won't do the work of getting natural knowledge about ourselves, reading up on self-development, self-help books, reading about what the word says about you and how God, your creator, what he created us to be and to do. And so in my own personal relationship, there's a lot of baggage I brought in because I thought I had an idea based on the world and what a man should be. And that limited my scope as to, who I was and what I truly had the opportunity to bring to the table. And so, in you asking a very good question, which is, where do some people go wrong? It's because a lot of times when we come into a relationship, we don't build off of the past relationships. Now, if it's your first one, there's just a lot to do to far as self-assess to me. You really need to see where you're strong, where some areas where you're challenged, some things that you'll like to see that you can partner with somebody. But if I don't do the work myself, I may not have the patience that I need coming into the relationship. I may not have the understanding that I need that this person's different, they're not me. And then I surely can't assume they know what I'm thinking if I'm not speaking. So that's the type of things we need to work on more that I see a lot of times as you get to talk to somebody, they start expressing um, their views, their struggles, and everything they're going through. Why she just don't understand me. Well, dude, you're not talking.
Right.
You're not telling her how you feel. You're not telling her what bothers you. You're thinking, I'm a man, I gotta carry it, and that's the wrong work. As a man, we gotta really learn, what did God design me for? Who am I? Who am I now at this particular time in my life? And with that, what can I bring to this relationship? And Do you have enough vision as a man from the work you've done to yourself to see where can you go with this person? A lot of times we don't bring that in a relationship. And then a lot of times, to be very honest with you, we're not honest with ourselves.
True.
We say we want a relationship, but you really haven't done the work within yourself to put the commitment in that's required in the relationship. So then when everything's going buck wild in a relationship and you don't understand why, it's because you're not really being honest. You really didn't want to be as committed as you said you did, bro. To be honest with you, young lady, you really don't know who you are and you're all over the place. So you throwing these standards that and he's trying to meet him and he's like, yo, I throw my hands up. I don't know what to do because she don't know who she is. So again, that love first has to start with yourself. You got to come back to who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? And what is it you want to do or you feel that you've been designed to do? Get connected to that foundation and you build from that and see if the other person's, hey, let me show you who I am. Here I am. I'm being honest. Oh, I'm challenged in this area. Girl, look, I've had problems with this in the past. I'm not good with my money, but I'm working on it. You know, I stay with my mom's, but I got a plan. I'm trying to pay my car off before I get an apartment. You got to communicate the work. You got to communicate these things and have that open, honest communication and understanding with yourself first. And then see if this other person wants to, are they able to be at a place where they can share that with you and grow with you? You know, so to me, those are aspects that end up manifesting and growing the love that we often don't see. A lot of times people just don't stick in long enough with each other because we're all growing. So she makes an error, they make a mistake, or they lie about something. They do something wrong that sometimes we see, we just ignore, and then you finally get tired of it. So the question is, what do you really want at this point? Then the next question is, do you really need a relationship right now? Are you really ready like you say you are?
Right.
Because if you don't love yourself enough and know yourself enough, you're going to make a mess and you're bringing someone else in it. And to me, that's the common problem.
So, with that being said, you said something about commitment as well. So, with all that being said, when do love in a relationship get toxic? And it's time to just say, you know what? I love you enough to say, I gotta let you go.
Oh man, I love this. This one, I got a video out there. It's on Soul Guru on when to know when enough's enough or when to break up. It's about a 10-minute video, but it's out there on YouTube. Check it out. I'm telling you there are all sorts of signs. A lot of times our dysfunction will keep us in. Because you don't want to be alone, you'll settle. But you got to ask yourself, okay, let me answer your question first, D. The main thing is this. When something becomes a pattern and you truly, in your honesty, don't want to tolerate it, you can't find it in your heart to tolerate it, and not only tolerate it, but if your relationship's at a place where you love the person, but that thing keeps becoming an issue, if it's early on and you're not married, you have time to discuss it. If the person's like, look, this is just me, this is what it is, then you have a choice. You can either choose to long suffer with that, which is a serious level of love. You can do that. That's okay if you're okay with it. If you're not, that's a red flag and a sign, hey, maybe I need to weigh some other options. Maybe we need some time apart. But those are those signs. If there's constant breakage in the relationship and you both are saying you agree to be monogamous, and it's normally more often, even though nowadays ladies are catching up, it's more often that the brother may step out. The man, okay, may step out. Do you have it in your heart to forgive him? If that becomes a pattern, I'm gonna be honest, sweetheart, that's a sure sign he lacks self-control. That's something, do you want that in your life? Do you want that for the next 15, 20 years of your life? Do you want that for the next 50 years of your life? If she is nagging you while she's your girlfriend and she is always on you in a negative sense and not building you up, bro, do you want that the rest of your life? Do you want that the next 5, 10 years? Do you want that around and in the presence of your children that y'all trying to bring in together? Nowadays, they're more blended families. So do y'all want to put your kids in the midst of that? Do you really want to blend your son or your daughter with a young lady who has a problem with that negative tone and pitch that's going to be in your home? That's a sign. If the person has money issues, financial issues, is that something you have the right to ask these questions? But a lot of times we're like, no, I'll be fine. If you'll be fine and you know you can be, it's going to irritate you, then you can long suffer through it. That is okay. But if you choose to long suffer, everybody around you don't want to hear you complaining.
That's true. That's true.
You got to long suffer with that thing. So that's in the word. Long suffering is an aspect that you're flowing in the spirit. So you can do it. We all do it to a degree, but only you know what you can stand and what you can't stand. And so there's so many other ways to do it. Just your person may embarrass you in front of company when y'all go out or whatever, or they want to make you the joke. And if you've made it clear to them, there are all sorts of signs. And to be honest, we know what those signs are. The question is, do we take the time to have the talk, to bring it up, and are we willing to work through it? If you are not, those are signs that it's probably time to move on.
Now, when you say signs, are we talking about like we need to communicate better? We need to compromise? Like, what type of signs are we talking about?
Again, the signs will normally be, they will probably come in patterns. Number one, let's just acknowledge the biggest, fattest elephant that's in every room upon every relationship when you first meet somebody. And the first thing we do for, I would say, especially when you get married, year one, you don't know each other. It takes about year two for you to start showing colors. I don't care if you live with somebody, okay? You can shack up all you want. When you say I do, that joint shift levels, period.
Yes.
People can say what they want. That's not getting to know the person. Yeah, you get more familiar, but you don't release who you truly are till you say I do. And when you do that, that is a huge moment of commitment. You are truly saying, I'm going to die for you. Meaning, let me break down die. Die means if there's something that comes up that you bring to my attention, I must consider letting that aspect of my character and even my personality. I have to consider and even work on letting that go because I say I love you. If I say something, I may joke a certain way. You may not like it, or over time, you're like, that was cute when we first met, but I ain't feeling that no more. When it gets like that, either you gotta find a place of love, gotta find some help. You gotta get some help somewhere, some spiritual help, some biblical help, maybe some mentor help, maybe some life coaching help. You know what I'm saying? You gotta filter that somewhere so you can learn what pocket I need to be in. So the signs can vary. You asked a great question. The signs can vary. Do they talk differently to your kids than they talk to their kids? Are you reprimanding his children or her children more than your own? Are they bringing you to your attention? Hey, I notice you're kind of light when it comes to my kids, or to your kids, but you're heavy, reprimanding our children, the ones that I brought into a relationship. Because once you say I do, they're all your kids.
Yes.
They all, it's all together. You have to let go of, well, these are my kids, these are your kids. No, they're y'all kids. Okay, so those are the type signs you got to really look at, especially nowadays for a blended family. You got to get to know each other's children. You got to get to know each other, these children's parents, so you know what's coming into your covenant, your relationship in your space. And so the signs, that's a whole nother segment on signs that we can go into, but that's just a few that seem to be very common nowadays.
I'm so glad you brought up the word blended family. I'm so glad. And you said a lot of great things just there. But in your opinion, do you think love is strained with blended families? Like, that's a lot for a man and a woman who has two different viewpoints of raising children to love them the same. Or some people say you can't love them the same in the first place.
Oh, huh. Okay, so you're asking me that with that difference of number one, the difference of cultures of having different sets of children, then you're bringing these two different cultures together.
Yes.
From a previous set of culture that now you're establishing something with someone else that's different.
Right.
This is a heart issue. And I think most families, I think most adults, I would say this. My answer to the blended family thing is I think more adults need to heavily weigh and consider and process, meaning talk to each other about the culture and the new standards that they want to set within the new culture of bringing your families together. I don't think that happens at all because there hasn't been a real good, well, I mean, biblically, there's some templates of how blended families work, but there's going to be a level of friction with a blended family a little bit more than there is a traditional family that's just starting new.
Right.
For instance, if we take the story of Abraham, you know, I don't know if y'all know about it, but in Abraham, that was a blended family.
Right.
Because Ishmael was his first child, but Ishmael was through one of his concubines or one of the servants. You know, Sarah couldn't give birth. She was barren, but God spoke a word that Abraham, you're going to be the father of many nations. You're going to have a child again. Now, they were both well in their 90s. You know, they were in their 90s now. I don't know if too many eggs are floating and they got too much strong sperm going on at this time. But either way, God said that. Abraham believed it. But Sarah doubted a little bit, was like, this is when we get in the Lord's way, okay? We do that in relationships all the time. But what happened was he ended up listening to his wife. I don't know too many sisters going to go for that nowadays, but she offered him to go into Hagar. Abraham went in there and he had a child. He had Ishmael, but the child of promise was supposed to be Isaac. And so I hope I'm saying that right. But anyway, with that story, with him having Isaac, now you had two different kids. You had a kid from an Egyptian woman. Then you had a kid from his wife. He had children. So Abraham had a blended family, and there was beef because Ishmael did tease Isaac because he was the older one. What older sibling doesn't tease a younger sibling? Right. And so Sarah wasn't feeling that at all. But one thing you notice is Abraham listened to his wife, but he loved both sons. And so some of you may be in situations where you love your wife, but what I've learned also is sometimes we got to listen to them. Not sometimes, God can use them in ways sometimes that it may not make sense to us, but that doesn't mean he's not speaking through them. Right. And ladies, the same thing goes for men. A lot of times we speak or may share something and impart it in your life. And sometimes, I don't know what it is. Sometimes I feel like women don't think we know what we're talking about. But sometimes your man shares a nugget of wisdom and it's not as reciprocated. And then a lot of times I know, ladies, y'all share with us and we don't listen. And that's true. And we fall flat on our face. But that biblical example was to let you know historically, blended families have always happened. So it takes fortitude. There's no document of Abraham separating from Sarah. They worked through it. And through that, the promise still came. So that is the same thing that still can apply to us today. If you work through it, you remain honest, operate in a high level of love, which is forgiveness, and to move and work through those issues where you may have disagreement. I really think that things can move forward. Even we've done it in my family. We have a blended situation, so.
Gotcha. Now transitioning from love with a significant other to where we can transition to, I think you wrote a book about it with dead issues. I want to say this was part of the book as well, with the love that we have for our sons or our daughter. Yes. So, like, most people think to have love for them, we have to spend money, we have to do all this materialistic stuff. When all I want to do is just have you there, just spend time with you. So, what is your take on that?
Oh, man, you hit some good spots, man. This is really, really good. What I've learned in my personal experience a few years back, I would say through 2005 to 2008, 2010, I had a few situations where I was laid off. And so what I learned from that, normally a lot of men get depressed because we cannot provide. We're not in a position to provide, and the flow is not coming in. We have to exhaust from what we did save to the account to keep things going until either unemployment comes or you get these particular positions. But the point is, you feel like if I'm not providing and if I'm not able to purchase or buy something for my family, I am not a source. And what I've learned in that season, what God showed me was that's not true. That's not true. A man, the key to a lot of what's going on to society is the lack of male presence in these homes. And this is why. Our security is not just in financial. The presence of a man and the way God designed man is we provide emotional security, psychological support. We provide the security of knowing that there's a father there and that there's a support there for you. So this covers multifacets of a child and even the wife that's in the home. And so when you have this there and that person, that particular father is operating, when I was there for my children when they came home, when my children saw me preparing their dinner and checking their homework, when they saw me getting them ready for bed or keeping them on schedule, keeping order and structure in the home. That created a balance because women naturally nurture, women naturally help forge the relationships with your children. But there's another balance that needs to be there. The discipline and correction that has to come that a father will notice before sometimes a mother will. Because of a mother's love, a lot of times she'll overlook certain things that a father will not. And that's in his love. He wants more for the child. See, your father's there to tell you, you're good right here. This is really good. You could be even better if you adjust this. So a father's role is we help modify and enhance your ability to be a better citizen, to be a better individual. And hopefully we can get into a culture and a pattern here in this country where we actually start teaching our children to be a husband and a wife. And I think that's why marriages fail, because we don't teach that. We don't teach from our mistakes and what we've learned and share with our children. We keep it hush hush. Our kids get married. They're surprised at what comes into marriage. And then, you're thinking just the word alone can give you that, but you have to be able to extract from the word the practicalities and the principles God has given you that will help us through those times when it gets tough. Those times where loving that person is hard. It'll give you a principle that help you get through. So I found that to personally be helpful. And so now, even in the situation I'm in now, having the medical situations I've had, I had a kidney transplant. There was a lot of work time I've had to be out, but there's a lot of other places I have been a pillar in my house. And my wife constantly edifies that and speaks to that. And she definitely agrees as a woman. She's just like a man's role is truly way more than just what he brings in the bank account. And it's an immature view if you think that that's an excuse because he doesn't provide or make as much as you. There's a level of work you have to do if that's how you see it, because that's not all he's limited to. So even if you look at the men that do bring in big money and they do well, look at the character of their children.
Yes.
Do not allow your finances to substitute parenting your child. Doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And so you'll be a product of giving them what they want and taking them wherever they want. But what kind of husband or wife are they going to be? So you're creating a really non-productive citizen almost, for someone else to have to worry about because you didn't do your part as a parent. You weren't available and engaged at the time you had being at the home. And that was the benefits I had of being home. I was able to see my son dealing with some depression, dealing with bullying, to help him through those types of things, and to help my daughters understand what they should be looking for in a male. I was able to set those examples. So, and talk to them about it. Talk to them on how to, when a guy's approaching you, some things that they can say to kind of help elevate the guy in engaging with them where they were. Because I raised a very high standard with my children. Really high. Not something that's unrealistic, but based on what me and their mother learned. So.
Now, with some of my fellas who's having it hard, with the mother of their child that they chose to have a kid with, and vice versa with women who's having it hard with their fathers, they decide to have a child with. What are some things? I hear things all the time like, women can't raise a man, or the daughter need the man to be there, and sometimes the mother will hold the children back from the man. Not knocking nobody from doing that, but what is your stance on that daughter, that son need his father there? That mother need to, let that father visit. Well, I know we put court mandates on things, and is that hurt? Is court mandate sometimes hurting the family, especially in the black community?
I gotta process that one. It does, because it favors the woman, it favors the female a lot. And to me, without careful consideration of what the man could potentially bring, there was a particular case that one of the gentlemen who I did dialysis with, his brother had a situation where he was financially stable. The mother of his children was an addict. She came out of, and she was still able to sustain custody of the children. He lost in court. She was the mother, and that's what constituted her. Okay, the court believed him paying her would constitute her being a better fit as a parent. And when he came back to get it again when she relapsed, he lost that case. This isn't the only case I've heard. I've heard several cases where guys who genuinely want a relationship with their children did not come out with a positive outcome to take care of their kids. And so I think any parent that uses children, you need some therapy. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That's not right. But see, the issue is in the natural, they're so hurt. They're so hurt that really, because see what happens is where women struggle is she sees that man's love for the children and she don't see it for herself, and she wants to stay in the state of including it, and she's not accepting the fact that she's not going to be included like that. So if I'm hurt, I'm gonna make him hurt, but you're ultimately hurting your children when you do that. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And so, my sisters, please hang in tough out there. If there's any opportunity or sign for you to see that the guy wants to be with his children, try to work with that. That's where therapy or coaching comes in. That's where going to a help to your pastor and getting some mediation. You need someone else to come in to help balance out you two coming together, because ultimately, if you really love your children, doing what's best for them is including both parents in the house. Now, some cases are a lot worse where you can't have the other person. It's abusive, it's emotionally abusive, it's physically abusive. Though I'm not talking about those cases. What I'm talking about is you really checking yourself and getting your attitude right for your children if he's trying to really make time for them. But yes, I do think the court plays a factor into it. I don't think the court is the sole issue. A lot of times it's our own dysfunction that we're not dealing with, especially the number of absences of males in the homes. I mean, we're at 75% of our homes, our children are coming up in a single parent home.
And that love from that, I think, spills over from the lack of love of daddy and the lack of daddy or father not being there, spills over to school, spills over to grades, spills over to this life in general, and they fall thinking that gang love is real love, mm-hmm. Or this street love is real love, and it's like, nah. And then they end up in the prison system and just a tough situation going down from there. So
I couldn't have said that better. It's totally true, and so that's why you providing financially, providing that stability, that is a major part. Yes, but if you engage in the other faculties of an individual, which your children have, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, the attention, the engaging, the being a part of their lives and really listening to them and find out where they are and what this generation is talking about. When you do that, that's the things that trickle into those other areas that you talked about. It trickles into the school. They understand authority and discipline and correction. They understand how to sit and pay attention because you've instilled that in them. A lot of kids, when I used to teach, there's so many kids. These kids now bounce off the walls, but because as parents, we're not setting up standards or parameters. Right. What parents are doing is they're saying, take care of my kid. Right. Can y'all please take care of your kids and tell them some things and give them some structure, give them some manners, please, before you send them off to school, because without that, it's hard to have school. And then now with COVID, they're in a situation now where they're trying to learn just solely offline without no interaction. One of the hugest parts of us is we're social beings, and technology can't ever substitute that. No. How I'm talking to you right now is not the same as me being in the presence of Darius right now, and he's getting the energy, he's getting the body language. You can never supplement that. So as adults, if we see that, what makes you think your kids don't need that? So they can adequately come to school prepared and ready. So our schools are really at a place where we desperately need to kind of put our big boy pants on and our big girl panties on, or whatever you want to call it. And we gotta step up. We got to do a better job. We really, really do. So it's really key for some type of male figure. It helps if it's the biological, but even if it's a male figure, my research in the book, Daddy Shoes, showed that even if it's a male figure around that young man's life, impacting that life, it makes a difference. So take that particular part that I'm sharing with you and even add in the gang life. There's still an impact. It may not be the best on the positive end, but those males are influencing your son. That's what every male and every female looks for. All of us look for that mutual and that gender association. That's necessary. My book talks about that. Every male needs to find his voice. So if it's finding it through the game because dad's not there, mom's not listening, she's just talking at me, that's where they're going to go. Men gonna go where the noise is. We're gonna go where we feel celebrated.
That's true.
That's a dangerous part.
Right.
So it's better to be celebrated at home so that man can focus there. Because if we don't feel that, we lose focus big time. You know what I mean by that.
Now we're gonna transition to a topic of me and you both have daughters. What are some tips for young fathers who have daughters that they need to really show? Because they say the father is the first man that a daughter learned to love. And that example, like I always tell people, sometimes it's hard for me to whoop my daughter because I don't want her to have that sight of a man can be able to beat her and it's okay. Mm-hmm. So, what are some tips that you have that that can help us with showing love to our daughters in a way that when they go pick somebody to marry, it's almost like an example of who my father is.
Okay, very good, great example, great question. Again, being a father of 3 daughters, 25, 20, and 18 years old now, I'm gonna address this question definitely based on what you just said. In reprimanding and correcting your daughter if she's little, to me, I did that. But what I did was I explained it to them. Mm-hmm. I did not have to reprimand them as much, maybe as my sons, because they're the older ones. So they kind of caught it quick. But I made sure if you take on the traditional old school way of spanking your children, it is to me good to explain to them why. I also explained to my daughters, in any other case, have you seen daddy touch you this way? Have you seen daddy, put his hands on you this way? And they would acknowledge no. I said, right. That's why a man is not supposed to touch you that way. And I said, even if you're having a disagreement as you get older, what have you, a man shouldn't touch you that way. So I explained the difference, but I explained as a father, as you get your husband, you need to allow him his place to correct the children or to discipline the children. And there's a limit to that. He don't need to be going out of hand. Right. You can't be body slamming kids and putting them in the full Nelsons and, they up against the wall or being tossed and closed hands, fist strike. It shouldn't be that. The word says the rod of discipline, either a belt, not no bamboo stick or anything like that, but even maybe a tap with the hand on the hips or something like that. Something where you get their attention, but you're not causing as much damage, because if you are of the belief, it says if you spare the rod, you'll spoil the child. So there's a place for it. It doesn't always have to be the first sign of discipline. So they don't have to always see that first. And that's what I made sure my daughters didn't always get spanked. Sometimes it was just removal of privileges. But if you did something and you were developing a pattern, I had to deal with that. And now it's more so as they get older, you become the major consultant to them. You become like you become like their coach or their mentor when they start getting older. So I don't spank my 25-year-old, none of that. I talk to them. She's a young adult and all that. That really stopped with correcting our kids, really, when they were all young. And I explained to them, I said, the younger you are, the more I'm going to correct you in a physical manner. I said, but as y'all get older, we're going to start talking this stuff out. So they've always had a conversation to their correction. So I felt like I felt like me and Steph felt that was important. And my wife gave me a lot of balance. She's the one that encouraged, hey, don't correct them when you're angry. That makes a big difference. Sometimes you got to calm down. Call your child over when you're a lot more calm, because a lot of times a lot of parents, I think, got out of hand at the times we were coming up because it was out of anger. So sometimes you have to find the balance. You have to be honest with yourself at that time and really see what your child needs. So a lot of times it's a cry out. If there's something that's going on, a lot of times it's just something in an area that we may not have caught, or it's just something that they've done that is just going to happen, but they have to learn. That's on us. That's on us as parents.
And then to that question as well, like what is the thing that you did to show your daughters the love, so when they get out here to get married, they see that. They like, that man reminds me of him.
With my daughters, I had to make sure, number one, I said, okay, you're the first man around them. So you're the standard. So I showed my daughters, I communicated with them. I communicated love by telling them that I love them. I gave them affection. at least as often as I could, would hug them. If they did something good, I would hug them. I would encourage them. Pats on the back, not like a dog, but like a nice, endearing parent pat. Put my hand on them, let them know gave them eye, in particular with ladies, give them eye contact, look them in their eye, let them know, hey, I'm really proud of you. You did really good. I will hold their hands sometimes. Sometimes at the malls, if we took walks to the mall, I would hold their hands as I walk with them. And then I also made time for individual time with each daughter because they're each an individual. So sometimes if you have more than one child, each child needs a certain level of their own time as well. You can't always group them because they're individual. So that's something that we kind of learned that, does Joy understand how we feel about her outside of Nia and Justice? So things like that. So we always check. By her being the middle child, we always check to make sure she was okay. And she was like, she's never felt. Check with your children. Say, hey, do you think I'm doing okay here? Just I would ask sometimes, and they would say, Dad, I think you're doing good. Or, when I said this, well, Dad, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. I owned when I was wrong with them too. Right. So they need to see you be able to admit some things, and I want them to be able to know you should have a guy who's not always right because he's not. And the same thing for my sons. I'm teaching them. She's not gonna always be right. Women have intuition, but that don't mean you're always right. So, you gotta learn and grow and discern the difference. But affection, communication is a necessity as a guy. You gotta know how to talk to the ladies. So I wanted them to know you need a man that needs to know how to talk to you and relate to you. I'm a serious supporter, and I'm their own cheerleader / coach for them. I encourage each daughter. So. For what they should be looking for, but I also tell them a standard. Don't bring this home. I don't want to see that. If I see his jaws, I ain't trying to see. I set a standard there, but I have to trust they will grow into it. And what's funny is now it's so bad. Only my oldest daughter is getting to know someone, but my other two daughters really haven't met a lot of guys. A lot of guys in this era, I don't know what the mothers or the fathers are doing, but a lot of guys just don't know how to talk. They don't know how to bring conversation. If it's not about sex or whatever, they just don't talk. So it's very funny. So I continue to pray for them. That me and Steph pray that they'll have the right guy to come and things like that, and that he'll find them. But it's kind of crazy now. I mean, the market is truly not the same when we were younger. It's real slim picking. So I'm even at a point, I would love for it to be within the culture, but I can't knock it if it's not. As long as he loves her, he got the same beliefs. I would prefer that, but I'm not like totally out of the question. Yeah. So it's that even they're saying it. They're like, I mean, geez, I'm looking for my own. I can't. A decent candidate's not coming. So that's a whole nother segment. Right. But those are the areas of show love. You got to talk to them. You got to give them affection. Got to let them know that they're safe in that and that they can talk to me. So they know when they talk to daddy, daddy's going to secure that, and I'm going to do what I can to support them. A woman will got to feel supported.
Now, I dislike the term, but it's something that you said earlier about, knowing each child differently. I dislike the term dating your daughter or dating your children. I wish we could name that something different. But do you believe in like you should date each one of your children to know their likes, their dislikes, so you'll have a better understanding? So when it comes to their needs, their love language of what they're looking for.
I'm not hung up on that term.
Right.
I understand why you have said that you kind of feel the way you do, but I understand that. I would just say that it's an aspect of a father. If you have a daughter or have daughters, that's something that you will have to do. I think not necessarily date, but I would say engage. Really engage them more. Don't just let life and the world teach them. There should be more pouring in your kid. I believe every father, if you're a father, I believe your kids should have more of you and your wife in them than everything else. I think everything else will help bring a balance, I guess, or help them learn to discern the difference. And hopefully what you and your wife or you and your significant other pour into them, hopefully it is of a very solid spiritual and uplifting foundation. I'm not going to say what that is. Based on what I've said, you know what I say it is and what I believe it is. And that is what's helped my 5 develop to where they are now. My youngest is 15. So I like the fruit that I'm seeing from them. And that's with mistakes. I like the fruit that we're seeing. So my wife and I know, based on our belief, it's in our house, as far as me and my house, it's about Jesus Christ. So in that, I'm seeing the fruit of that from them prospering. They're doing well. None of my daughters have been pregnant. None of them are strung out or anything like that. They're not in situations where they're being abused. So, I thank God for that. But I think that as a father, you should be spearheading that all the time with different aspects of your children. And then what I love is my wife partners with me because she gives the female part to my sons. I give them the man part about being aware. You see that trash over there, boy? Take that trash out. What about the sisters? No, you're a man. This is that we cover. So I'm teaching them how to cover. In spite of you feeling unfair, that's the role as men we have. You see what I'm saying? I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to prepare them to be husbands. I got one son always asking, so what they gonna do? I'm like, why you worry about what a female gonna do? What you gonna do? You the man, bro.
Right.
Why you even bringing this to me? You see me crying about it when I used to do it. Now you do it. So those are little things that you get, but it's essential to me as the men that we spearhead that. And if you're like, well, I don't know how to, it starts from a video like this. It starts from you finding a foundation. You know which one I'm going to recommend to you. I think you can't go wrong with the Word of God. Or if you're at a church, go a little bit deeper. Connect with someone that you see the fruit from. If you see my man D and you see the relationship he got with his kids and he's doing the right thing, stop being prideful and say, hey, man, I need to talk. I need to know how to get this thing done. And so for the guys we're too prideful, and for these ladies, this independent spirit is making them prideful. So there's a lot of arrogance in our culture now that's really breaking the family down. We think it's good, but it's tearing the family up because it's not allowing us to engage the way we need to. It's an arrogance. It's a spiritual arrogance in this culture. I'm talking about American culture that's just really tearing us apart.
Now we're going to transition to one of the last segments of the day. And I think it's a big one because I think a lot of men, we get comfortable in relationships. We get comfortable in what we do. We think because we put the ring on our finger is over, it's done. So and I saw you do this the other day. I follow you on Facebook, so I saw you do this the other day. I think you wrote like a letter and had flowers on the island area of your house or whatever.
Yeah.
What are some tips for men? Especially men who may struggle in the romantic department. But what are tips for men to keep things fresh? Keep that fresh fire coming so your relationship won't die.
Okay, number one, guys. Number one. Okay, this answer is it is a personal confession / answer tip coaching point that I'm letting you know that I've dealt with, and I think a lot of men deal with. Number one, guys, do not compare her to no one else. Because we fell in love, and I'm going to say not fail. You chose to love who you're with for a reason. You're with her for a reason. Okay? So, do not allow what you see visually on the gram, on TikTok, on Love and Hip Hop, on any award show, anything media-wise, do not allow the physical to distract you from your natural love, which is to that woman that you're with. Now, to me, the reason why I say that's first is because if I don't do that, I will get distracted by what I do have. Mm-hmm. So, second thing is value what you have. Value her. Remind yourself why you chose to love her in the first place. Because whether people know it or not, love is a choice. You choose to act to show it to that person. In essence, that's what happens. Even though you feel the attraction, you choose to say something to her or him. You choose. Somehow there's choice in that. And so do not be distracted. Remind yourself of why you're with her. And then after you remind yourself, take those emotions and those positive thoughts and vibes you have and think of actions that you took when you first met her and couldn't get enough of her. For instance, shoot her a text of how you feel. That's simple. Don't send no text, no funny video, whatever. Have a moment and really express how you feel. For instance, what I love about my wife is she is a constant cheerleader and a constant support. And I love that about her. And I would text that. You know, you are always thinking of me and you're being mindful of me. And I value that. And that means a lot. I love you so much. Thank you for that. And I get the best response. So, sow that back into her. As you sow, you reap. Guys, we are sowers. When you sow a seed into a woman, what happens 9 months later?
You're gonna reap it.
So if you sow good words into her, you should get, and at some point, good words are going to come back to you. So you are like a farmer, and the woman's like the farm. Okay, you got to cultivate that soil.
I love it.
We have to, and that's what we are, because we're seed bearers and they're seed carriers. So, some tips. What I did was I challenged myself, and I got to give props to Bishop Larry Jackson out of uh, Bethel Worship Center in Charlotte. One year, I've never done this before, but he challenged us during Valentine's Day. And he said, why do we wait one part of the year to show the person how much we love when it should be whenever you want or year round? And so he put us as the men on a 14-day challenge. And he said for 14 days until Valentine's Day, he said, I guarantee you by Valentine's Day, she ain't going to want for nothing. But he said, do acts of love, small acts of love. So what you saw, what I posted was I did 7 days. Now, the other years, I did 14. Sometimes I may have did 10. I may have did. In a couple of years, I may have missed it, you know. But because throughout the year, I gave her small things or did small things. When's the last time you rubbed your wife's feet? When's the last time she had a back rub from your hands? When the last time you took some nice massage oil or just some nice oil or lotion she likes and you just rubbed her hands after she got off work? When's the last time you ran some bath water for her? When's the last time you cooked the meal for her? Now, I ain't talking about her and the kids. You cooked for her. When was the last time you took a nice walk with her? Whether it's cold, whether it's warm, when's the last time just you two took a walk? And so I'm saying things you probably did when you first started courting her. And we do those things in our persona, like we said at the beginning of the video. We do stuff, but is that really us, or that's us trying to impress? But really, it's us trying to impress because of the love. We want to show them that we love them. That's still in you. It's just once we get the ring, we get settled and we get comfortable. You know, when we all meet, a lot of times we're in a certain frame, you know, our bodies all, you know, the fellas are chiseled, or we, you know, got some shoulders, the ladies are, and over time we get comfortable. Once you get your prize, you get comfortable. So we all curve out a little bit. Coke bottles become liters. You know what I'm saying? Fellas' shoulders smooth down to the chest, to the gut. You know what I mean? But you still love that person. In spite of the weight gain, in spite of the changes, in spite of the medical stuff, this person loves you. So think about this, fellas. This woman loves you in the midst of your mess. What can you do that's practical to show her that you love her? And so this year, what I did for my wife, Stephanie, 7 days until Valentine's Day. By the time we got to Valentine's Day, she didn't even need nothing. She didn't even want nothing. She was so full from the first day. That's what you saw. I put the flowers out. The next day, she had a coffee mug with a little puppy in it with some puppy eyes. Then I wrote her like an encouraging note. That next day, I took her to I said, this is a Valentine's lunch. So I did something each day, all the way up until Valentine's. And so she was just like, she was so full, and she totally blessed me Valentine's Day. She did something I didn't expect that really helped me out. So as we sow, we reap, guys. And you got to think about that. If she's acting foul, what are you sowing foul into her? Because to be honest, that's why our company is called Mirror to the Heart, because it's to show your wife and the husband. Wives, your husband is a mirror. Well, husband, our wives is a mirror to us. And a lot of times they're only reflecting or showing what you're putting out. And you have the choice to whether or not you're going to put in work and make that image better. That image meaning your character, your personality, your spiritual walk, your growth, your overall relationship. But we got to sow back into them. And so now, if you're sowing and there's no reaping happening, and it's going over like years, and this, it's just that's a sign that you have a place where you may have to make a choice. I mean, that's the reality of it, you know. But sowing and reaping is a law, just like gravity. What goes up must come down. So if you sow, that which you sow will come back to you. And it should come back through the vessel you're sowing into, or the place you're sowing into.
So before we get out of here, we want people to be able to find you. Where are you on social media? Where can we find you? They need any other help, like your company, Mirrors to the Heart. Where can they find you at?
Oh, definitely. Okay. You can find me at www.mirrortotheheart.com. It's mirror the word and the number two. The TH heart, HEHEART.com. We have a website. We also have a blog that we're looking to improve on. Hopefully, maybe my cousin be able to help us out. I got a whole bunch of content, but right now, just to be honest, it looks like trash. I mean, the content's straight, but I want a more interactive site. So this is what you get from us. We're very honest and transparent. It's not all together, but we felt moved by God to help touch and reach people. And so you can also reach me if you want. If you want some nuggets that are within like 3 to maybe 8 minutes of information, you want to learn about relationships, bettering yourself, I got a whole bunch of stuff out there, at least 20 shots and some video cuts on Soul Guru. That's also what I go by. Soul Guru meaning the person who has become well versed in his mind, his spirit, and pretty much your soul, your mind, spirit, and my emotions. And so that doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I have learned a lot and I can share a lot, and I think you can gain a lot from that. So that's Soul Guru on YouTube. And the other place is mirrortotheheart.com, and you can email us. We're also on Facebook. You can email, you can reach out, you can call. We have an office in Charlotte right now. We're doing more virtual sessions right now. And I'm available, guys, if you want. I got a Zoom call getting ready to start up in March. I'm getting ready to start up called the Sons of David, which are men after the hearts of David. Nothing too long, but a place where men can feel safe, where we can talk, we can exchange, we can grow with each other on a lot of stuff that you discussed today. Just keeping that available. So, but those are the different facets you can reach us on. And so from there, we have our contact information on that as well. So, but this has been great, man. I appreciate the opportunity. We're rocking with Grandosiá.